What's up, y'all? So, today, what I thought I would do, just idea popped into my head. I'm going to take you with me real quick while I program some workouts for myself. Just an inside look on the way that I program, the way that I plan my workouts, and the way that I plan my clients' workouts, um, as well as how I adjust them from week to week, day to day, depending on the circumstance. So, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. What you should be able to see now is Nate Anglin. That's me. Okay. Uh, Basically, yes, I leave myself notes, audio notes, and text notes. I am trying to coach myself fully as if I would one of my clients. So that's what I do. Now, I have it written down that in order to program for myself out through Monday, so the beginning of next week, I needed to have up 4 workouts for myself. And this is just me trying to get ahead of things in my business. I used to do daily programming up until very recently, actually. But I found it's better to kind of do it in bulk, you know. So basically, here's all my completed workouts that I've done so far in the program. Now I've done others before that, and that's why you'll see different versions like full body A, full body B here as far back as August of 24 and earlier. But this is since I've started the actual program that I've been running for myself. I've skipped 0 workouts, so be proud of me for that. I've already published these 2. So what I do basically is I take a look at, okay, what are your upcoming ones? I have shoulders and arms and upper for week 4. And I know that the typical order of these, because of the completed ones here, goes, let's see, chest and back, legs, shoulders and arms, upper, lower. That's this current split I'm on, excuse me. So knowing that, the next ones up here are going to be what? It goes chest and back, legs. So it's going to be shoulders and arms, upper, lower, and another chest and back I have to put up. So here's shoulders and arms, upper, already published. I'll take you through programming for lower and maybe chest and back if it doesn't take too long here. So I already changed the week over here. This is how the programming works in Quick Coach. Super simple to use platform for both me and my clients, both versions or sides of the platform, I should say. And I'll show you that in a second as well. But basically, lower body here. So I save that title. I'm going to go into edit it. And then what I see here are the variables that I can change and publish. And that's what will come up on the client side of things once it's published all the way. But in order to see what I did last week and adjust things from there, I need to hit view as client. Now, I can see exact weights and reps and my rating on this. So I see I did 3 sets of 10 aside at the 25s. It's not super heavy, but I'm holding one in each hand. These are always killer. So I rated that at a 7 out of 10 last week. That means if it's a 7 out of 10, if it's anywhere from usually a 7 to an 8.5 out of 10 that I rate things or that a client rates things, I'll usually have them or me repeat that. That's where you see this in the notes, repeat, and then give another rating out of 10. If it's below a 7, so 6.5 or lower out of 10 difficulty, I will usually increase the intensity somehow. And by intensity, that could mean, I'm using that as a general term, not a programming specific term. So that could be increase the number of sets, that could be increase the number of reps, could be increasing the weight, decreasing the rest even, or potentially supersetting it with something else. So seeing that it's a 7, I'm going to have myself repeat the exact same thing the next week. And if you're trying to, watch this and figure out how to program for yourself, that's fine. That's what I want to do this for. You don't have to continually progress up in weight or reps or sets or all of that every single week. Sometimes it's better to repeat exactly what you did until it becomes easy enough for you to move forward. So I could bump up the weight to the 30s. I could do 12 reps instead of 10. I could do 4 sets instead of 3. But more than likely, if I do that, my performance is going to suffer. And it's going to be harder than a 7 out of 10. And I don't want things to get to that 10 out of 10 effort all the time or potentially at all if I can help it. The only case where I'd want it to be a 10 out of 10 is if I'm going for a true 1 rep max on something. And especially on this exercise, Bulgarian split squats, nobody's going to a 1 rep max. That would be pretty stupid if you ask me. So I'm going to have myself repeat this. So I'll click back to the coach side of things. I don't have to adjust anything because it's already set up, because I already repeated it the last week too. So looking at the next exercise, single leg calf raises. I am horrible at these. I don't quite know why, but I'm kind of, just going with the flow on them. I'm just trying to get better. So you see I did 3 sets. First set was 14 reps. Second set was 14 reps. Third set was 12 reps. And that's each side at just my body weight, not holding any weight on the single leg calf raise. SRP, this is the acronym I use for single rep progression, meaning I'm going to add 1 rep to the total the next time I attempt it. So instead of 14, 14, and 12, I'm going to simply go 14, 14, and then it's going to be 13. So plus 1 rep on that. Now, since I already decreased the load from like 5 pounds last time, I'm going to delete that so there's no confusion. This is the standard rest time I'd use for stuff in the 12 to 15 range, so I'm going to keep that. And I'm going to nix this rating question because it's going to be single rep progression. So on my clients' stuff, I'll write it out so they understand. I'll say single rep progression, no rating necessary, at least not at the moment. Now, not to confuse you all too much, but again, this is the stuff I geek out about. This is like the reason that I got so into training so fast and coaching people, because I love the numbers. So I'm sorry if you don't have to watch this whole thing. I'm just trying to give you an idea of how I actually program. So let's see. Right, single rep progression. And when I would get back to the point, when I will get back to the point that I'm doing the same number of reps in each set, then I will ask myself for a rating again. It's just, I use the rating to calculate an estimated 1 rep max, and then that's what I decide, how I decide how much weight to use or what to do with the reps, everything. So the ratings are super important, but if I give a rating on 3 sets of different rep numbers, it's not very useful to me in terms of calculating that estimated 1 rep max or anything. So it just makes the most sense, especially with body weight movements, which is what BW stands for, as you might have guessed. It's much more useful to just do that single rep progression. So that's how it's going to stay. By the way, you can see that I have warm-ups listed on my first exercise, but only my first exercise. Because this whole workout stays on the theme of lower body, except for the core stuff at the end, I usually have 1 warm-up, like 1 exercise where you work up and weight gradually per workout, per section of the body. So if I'm programming a full body workout for somebody, I'm going to have them warm up their lower body on the first lower body exercise of the workout and warm up their upper body on the first upper body exercise of the workout. For core, most of the stuff you don't really need that warm up for, especially if it's towards the end of a workout. You're already warm, you're already moving. So that's why I don't do that. And that's also why you don't see warm ups for each individual exercise. I don't think that's usually necessary, except maybe in extreme cases or if you're working around an injury or something. So, all right, cable hip thrusts. These ones are actually fun. I love these a lot. You might have seen them as cable pull-throughs or something like that, or rope pull-throughs as well. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it other than this, maybe.
First one.
I'm going to mute that. This is going to be super grainy for you guys, but basically this is where you set up. It's a little bit awkward, at first, but you're working your glutes in another way with constant tension as opposed to using a barbell or something or a dumbbell. So it feels pretty good. Okay, back again. Here we go. Cable hip thrust. Okay, so again, I'm looking mostly for the rating because the rating, to me, when I program as a coach, that's how I decide if I'm going to progress, regress, stay the same on something. So I see a 7.5 out of 10, which if you remember is in that 7 to 8.5 range. So I'm going to have myself repeat this again. So instead of giving myself the rep range now, I know I can do 3 sets of 15, and I know it's not a maximum effort exercise. So I'm just going to put 15 reps in there. I'm going to delete this increased load note just because it's staying the same for this week. And then I'm taking a look at the number of reps that I have to do. I'm adjusting the rest time accordingly. So when I had given myself the 10 to 15 rep range, 1 to 2 minutes is the time I would use for that. However, since now I'm definitely, definitively, I guess, increasing the number of reps, I'm going to decrease this rest. And then I'm going to say decreased rest so that I realize that I should be using less rest. That may change the rating, that may bump it up, that may keep it the same for another week. But that's just how I program. You know, higher rep sets usually are going to have lower rest times. Lower rep sets, which is usually heavier stuff, is going to have higher rest times. So I'm going to put this little repeat in here. Let's see. Yep. Okay. Staggered stance, single leg dumbbell RDL. I know it's a mouthful, but I've kind of recently switched to this just because I feel like I can load the exercise more than if I were to do a single leg dumbbell RDL without any support for balance or anything like that. And you know, you can do it for balance, but my idea with this exercise is to work the hamstrings one side at a time. So that's why I do that basically. So let's see what I ended up doing, right? Because I switched in the middle of the last workout. I only did 2 sets of this specific exercise. So I did 2 sets of the first one of 10, the second one of 8. I don't know what that means. 10 and then 8 aside at the 25s. Now, when I say 25s or 25s, that means I'm holding a 25 in each hand while doing this. So technically it's 50 pounds overall, but this is just how I distinguish between, or make a distinction between doing dumbbell exercises and barbell exercises. If it was a barbell exercise, I would just put 50 pounds, not 25 aside. Okay. So I said 2 sets of 10, 8 aside at 25s SSP, which I'm remembering now means single set progression. That's just another acronym I made up on the spot for no reason other than to sound cool. So now I'm doing 3. Hey, guess what 3 is? It's an increased number of sets. Now I know last time, again, I did a set of 10 and a set of 8. So I was still within the target rep range. However, I didn't do the same number of reps on each set. So now I'm going to implement that single rep progression. I'm sorry, I actually won't. This is how my brain works, back and forth all the time. Because I'm increasing the number of sets, I want to see what I can get with 3 sets versus with 2 sets. So I'm going to actually keep that rep range open to 8 to 12 per side. I'm going to continue using the 25s because I didn't give myself a sure sign that I was ready to progress. And then I'm going to keep this rest time here. I'm also going to keep the question of what's the difficulty rating out of 10, because I'm going to need to rate this as a separate bout of the exercise versus the last time when I only did 2 sets of it. So moving on to the next one, I have a core superset here. That's why you see the different kind of color segmentation, I guess. So planks and Russian twists. No rating necessary, 5-second interval progressions, right? So last time I did a set of 1 minute, a set of 45 seconds, and a set of 40 seconds. Single interval progression, another acronym that's completely useless except to my brain. So I did this last time. Now I'm adding, if you notice, like when I did single rep progression on the single leg calf raise, I'm adding a rep to the lowest rep set at a time. So on this thing, I'd go 14, 14, 13. The next time I would go 3 sets of 14. And then the time after that, I'd add a rep to the first set and go 15, 14, 14, 15, 15, 14, 15, 15, 15, and so on and so forth. So I'm doing the same thing here. And that's just for consistency, because I don't want to oh, great, now I can do 2 sets of 1 minute and 30 seconds on the planks, but then my third set is like 30 seconds. I don't want it falling behind that much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to up this 40-second third set to 45 seconds, or at least that's going to be my goal. If I don't hit that goal, more than likely what I would do is swap that exercise out for something else for a time and then come back to it, hopefully stronger. Same thing with anything where I rate it like a 9, 9.5, or a 10 out of 10. With very few exceptions, I'm going to swap that exercise out because it was more difficult than I wanted it to be. And like I said, come back to it stronger in a couple of weeks or even a couple of months, depending on the rotation of exercises that I'm using. So adding 5 seconds to the last set here, no rating necessary, same thing. Russian twist, this was single rep progression. So I did 20, 15, and 14 aside. I'm now going to do 20, 15, and 15 aside. Now looking at the rest for supersets, I actually base this off of whichever exercise requires more rest. And in this case, typically the plank is going to require more rest. If I was just doing this exercise, the Russian twist by itself, I would probably give myself about 1 minute of rest, and that's it. However, I'm doing up to a minute on a plank, so I'm going to give myself that 1 to 2 minutes minimum rest time. I rest as long as the timed exercise is, and then double that for the extended rest time, which is 2 minutes. Okay, hope that made some sense. That's my lower body workout that I'm going to be doing in a few days. And I'm going to go ahead and publish that plan. So now you can see that went from the draft side to the upcoming side and published. Now, one more, an upper body workout. I'm going to go through this one faster because you probably, hopefully heard everything I had to say about the first one and how I program. Let's see, January 6th. Let's see, chest and back. Right, so this was my comment on the lower body workout that I just programmed. And I always look at comments or audio notes before I program for something so I know if there needs to be changes made. So sometimes my clients will say something like, I hated this exercise. Can we do another one? And then if it's something as simple as that and it's out of the blue, usually I'll talk to them about it on a check-in call and decide if it's actually the best move to swap it out, or if maybe we just need to make a technique adjustment and then it'll feel better for them. But this is what I look at to determine if I need to make any broader changes to that specific plan or that session. Okay, so moving into the chest and back workout here. Again, I already changed it to week 5 because that's next week I'm programming for, next week, Monday probably. As you can see, there's a superset, flat dumbbell bench press, flat dumbbell fly. One thing I'm checking for as well is the timing of the workouts. I actually forgot to check that on the lower body workout here. So don't, question my math on this. Basically, it's just an estimate of how long things take based on the number of sets in each exercise. So these are all sets of 3 set exercises, which for this category of exercise, meaning hypertrophy-based exercises, I'm estimating that it'll take approximately 8 minutes each. I know it's super specific, but again, I geek out about the numbers, and this is how I formulate people's plans for them. If they say, it takes me too long, okay, let's figure out maybe where we can decrease the number of sets or decrease rest times. If they're like, I'm done in 35 minutes with this, I want to do more, let's increase the sets. And that's how I calculate it. So this one, 8, 8, 8, 8, 32 minutes approximately for these 4 exercises, right? Then for a superset, it's usually, I'm estimating that it's going to take, these exercises together, but not supersetted, would take approximately 16 minutes, 8 per exercise. However, since they're in a superset, that's eliminating, one of the exercises rest times. And so it's going to take somewhere around maybe 3/4 of the normal time. So 16 minutes times 3/4 is 12 minutes. Add that to the 32. And what I see is that this workout in theory should only take about 44 minutes. Now I'm actually aiming to have my workouts take about an hour. I did forget one thing here. the warm-ups, I do calculate the time that it takes to do the warm-ups because I take full rest in between each warm-up as well, depending on the rep range. So for example, for this first set, I'm doing 15 to 20 reps. I'm only taking a minute rest between that and the next warm-up set. This one I'm taking about 90 seconds. This one I'm taking about 2.5 minutes up to that if I really feel like I need it. But that's just to have some consistency in the warm-up. So there are 3 warm-up sets here, which is going to add another 8 minutes or so to the workout. That brings us to 52 minutes. Now, again, don't question my math here. I've spent years and years developing these systems in my head for how I do this. So I'm just going to go for it. 52 minutes, trying to bring it to about 60 minutes would mean that I can add approximately 4 sets total to the workout. So I could look at this and I could say, hey, I want to add another exercise in and do 4 sets of it or 3 sets of it. And that would work. But in this case, I'm just going to stick with the stuff I'm doing, and I'm going to add a set to 4 different exercises. So I'm just using my common sense here and like, what do I really want to focus on? I think, for example, the single leg calf raise, I'm doing enough already because it's pretty hard for me each time I do it. So I'm going to keep that at 3 sets. Cable hip thrust, I can definitely do another set of. So I'm going to add that increased number of sets. And since this is now different, I'm going to ask for a new rating out of 10. Let's see. I'm probably going to add one to the Bulgarian split squats, and I'm going to hate myself for that, but let's see what happens, right? Asking for a new rating out of 10. And then I simply don't want to do another set of these things. There's no other reason for it. It's not laziness. It's just like, that's good enough. Same as the calf raises. So I'm actually going to add another set to each of these bodyweight core movements. And now this is going to change the programming for the time and the reps on each, right? Because I was doing single interval progression or single rep progression. So what I'm going to attempt to do here is I'm going to add the 5 seconds to that third set like I planned on the planks. And then the 4th set, I'm going to give myself a range. So it's not going to be more than the last set, but it's going to be a minimum of, 30, well, probably 10 seconds. And I know that sounds really low, but I'm giving myself a range here to work with, and I like to start low on those ranges. So 10 to 45 seconds on the 4th set of planks. And keep in mind, this is after, after me doing 35 minutes of a leg workout right before this. And then I'm also supersetting this with another core exercise. So that's going to be pretty tough by the time I get to the 4th set. On these, I'm going to, again, give myself a range on the last or 4th set. And that range is going to be 12 to 15. Don't read into it too much. That's just what makes sense to me. And I won't lie, a lot of what I do with programming is kind of intuition. And what I've seen over the years on how these exercises affect training and how individuals react to them and their bodies do, so it's a lot of intuition stuff. I can't really explain why that would be what I program, but I do. Okay, so we're going to save that workout. That one should be about 60 minutes now, which is what I'm looking for. Now, chest and back, looking at the timing, I will calculate this up really quick. 10, 10, 10, 8, 38 minutes for these, plus a superset, a quad set, superset, 4 sets. 2 exercises back to back, 4 times over. So what did I just say? 38 minutes for the rest of these. And then this would normally be 20 minutes, but instead it's going to be 15 because of the superset. So 38 plus 15, 53. And then I'm looking at how many warm-ups I have to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of warm-ups. What did I just say? 53. That's going to take me about 12 minutes for the warm-ups. It may not take that long, but that's what I'm estimating at. So 53 plus 12 is actually over 60 minutes. So what I may do here is actually subtract a couple of sets from the total. If I were to subtract a set from each of these, that might work out I'm just kind of experimenting, just fiddling around with it here. So for example, if I subtracted a set from each of the supersetted exercises, that would typically be 16 minutes, but it would turn out being 12. Right. So if I do that, decreased number of sets, and I'm okay with decreasing the number of sets on these main exercises only because I'm doing something like it, similar movements, twice per week. If this was the only time per week that I'm doing these main exercises, I'm probably going to aim to keep the sets higher. Okay, so that shaves off about 3 minutes, give or take, of the workout. That brings us to 62 minutes. And I know this is super precise, but again, just trying to give you guys an idea into how I program and the math behind it, I guess. So if you ever want to come look at this video and watch, whatever this is going to be, 30 minutes of me geeking out about numbers, if you're that person too, watch through this and practice it for yourself. You can use these principles to program for yourself too. Okay, so I'm just looking here. I'm not going to subtract sets from the one with the least number of sets. I like to do that pull downs. I kind of hate these, I'm not going to lie. So if I subtracted one set from this, that's going to shave off the extra 2 minutes. And again, I'm okay with subtracting sets here because I'm doing another lat exercise here, and I'm doing, 2 other lat exercises in one of my other workouts or throughout the week as well. So now looking at this, that should be 10 plus 10 plus 8 plus 8, 36 minutes for the bulk of the workout, and then right, 48 minutes including the supersets, 5 work up sets or warm up sets for the first exercise is 12 minutes, so 48 plus 12 is 60. Okay, now I can take a look and I can adjust things. So last time I did on this 45s for 4 sets of 12, and I rated it a 5.5 out of 10, meaning I felt like I could do, what is that? I could definitely do 4 more reps after I finished the last set, maybe 5. That's what that rating means. So it's like, how many more reps could you do approximately? Subtract that number from 10, and that's your approximate rating. That's how I deal with ratings for most people. That's just the simplest, most objective way to rate things in the long term. And the consistency in how you rate things is what matters most. So knowing that, I have these little formulas and percentages going through my head as well. That's 45 for 4 sets of 12, 63%. And a 5.5 is going to be 53%, 51.5%. Don't ask. Estimated 1 rep max for that is 87.38. So somewhere around like 85 pounders, dumbbells. That's estimated. Again, this is just what I base my weight prescriptions off. So that will go up as I perform better and as I perform also closer to failure. That's another concept I can talk about in a later video. But taking that estimated 1 rep max, I'm going to multiply it by how many desired sets and reps I want with this and what rating I want it to be approximately. So this is the really cool part where you might ask, well, how do I know where to go with the weights, reps, and sets? I mean, it's all in my head, but I have a numerical system, a mathematical system for figuring that out. And this is where the magic happens because it's pretty much right. It's right 90% of the time, I'd say, barring like exceptionally good performances in the gym that you rate worse than they actually were, or exceptionally bad performances that you rate better than they were, if that makes sense. So I'm looking to do now, instead of 4 sets, I'm looking to do 3 sets with a maximum of 12 reps, put me at 65%. And I'm trying to make it about a 7 out of 10 effort. So put me at 57% of that 1 rep max. That's going to have me doing the 50-pound dumbbells on this next. So that is an increased load. I'm keeping the same rep range, decreasing the number of sets, and I'm asking for an rating. Now, whenever I increase the load, I have to usually adjust the warm-ups as well. So doing some quick calculations, I do my warm-ups typically on these exercises at 30, 50, 70, 80, and 90% of the working weight. The reps that I do, as you can see here, are working up from the top end of the rep ranges, 15 to 20, 12 to 15, 10 to 12, 8 to 10, 5 to 8, down to the lower end, so that I'm not doing too much in warm-ups, but I'm getting enough on the first couple sets to really get the blood flowing. Okay, so 50 times 30% is 15, times 50% is 25, times 70% is 35. So we're looking to go with the 15s, 25s, 35s. 15s for 15 to 20, 25s for 12 to 15, and then 35s for 10 to 12. 80 and 90% warm-ups. 50 times 80% is 40. 50 times 90%. That's not right. It's 45. Duh. Okay. 40s for 8 to 10. 45s for 5 to 8. And that should work out nicely. Okay, flat dumbbell fly. Single rep progression is what I'm asking for. Now, I can cut out this last set entirely because I decreased the number of sets total. So we're just looking at the first three here, which I got 18 reps, 15 reps, and 13 reps on. I'm still looking to add one to that. So we're looking to go 18, 15, 14. Same weight. Now, again, the rest is based on the maximum rest I would need for either one of these exercises, which in this case for the 8 to 12 rep range is about 1 minute and 15 to 2 minutes and 30. So that is not increased rest, is staying the same. I'm going single rep progression with the flies next time. Cable lat pull downs, 4 sets of 12 at 180, 7 out of 10. Now I'm looking here. If I've repeated something 3 times in a row and it's been a 7 out of 10 each of those 3 times, I'd usually put something in the programming like repeat one more time, the third time. If it's 7 out of 10 effort 3 times in a row, I would either swap that exercise out for something else because we've grown kind of stagnant on it, or I'm going to try to make a push in reps, in sets, or in weight. In this case, I've only rated it 7 out of 10 once, which means that I have to repeat it 2 more times to get that rating in order to make one of those changes. Or it has to become easier, like a 6.5, 6, or even a 4 or 5 out of 10. So decreased stress, this is actually staying the same. I'm going to have myself repeat it and give a rating out of 10. One arm dumbbell row. Doing 3 sets now instead of 4 sets. So I'm taking this, I'm saying I did 45 aside for 4 sets of 12 at 8.5 out of 10. So 45 for 4 sets of 12. 63%, 8.5 is going to be approximately 58.5%. Okay, now I'm looking for 3 sets of 12 or so at a 7. Just going to put me at 57%. Again, that's staying at the 45s. I'm opening up this rep range again to see what happens. 45 aside. And because I opened up that rep range, I'm going to increase the rest. Increase rest, and I'm going to ask for a new rating out of 10. Okay, 2 more. Almost there, guys. Hang on. Hear me out. This is good information if you're a numbers nerd like me. Okay, cable face, pull upper back, focus. 50 pounds for 4 by 15 at a 7.5 out of 10. Now, again, that's in that range where I'm going to just repeat that until it gets easier, or until it gets significantly harder, which is unlikely, but it's possible. So that's going to stay the same, and then cable crunch to finish it out. 3 sets of 20 at 80, 8.5 out of 10. Again, that's on the upper end of the rating range that I'll keep things the same for, but it's not a 9 or more, so I'm going to keep it 3 sets of 20 at 80, same rest, repeat, rating out of 10. Thanks very much for watching. I think that's all I have for today. And if you guys have any questions on this, feel free to discuss it in the comments or DM me. I would love to geek out more about this if you are that numbers person too. And if you're not, hopefully it wasn't too boring and dragging on for you and you were still able to learn something from it. Regardless, I will be talking to you guys soon. Take it easy. Peace.